issue for you. You hear many of your colleagues are calling for increased surveillance by law enforcement. You call that hogwash. Why is that hogwash?
You know, I think Marco gets it completely wrong here. We are not any safer through the bulk collection of all Americans' records. In fact, I think we're less safe. We get so distracted by all of the information, we're not spending enough time getting specific information on terrorists. The other thing is the one thing that might have stopped Senator Bernardino, that might have stopped 9/11, would have been stricter controls on those who came here. And Marco has opposed at every point increased security, border security for those who come to our country. On his Gang of Eight bill, he would have liberalized immigration, but he did not, and he steadfastly opposed any new border security requirements for refugees or students. Last week, I introduced another bill saying we need more security, we need more scrutiny. Once again, Marco opposed this. So Marco can't have it both ways. He thinks he wants to be this, oh, I'm great and strong on national defense, but he's the weakest of all the candidates on immigration. He is the one for an open border that is leaving us defenseless. If we want to defend the country, we have to defend against who's coming in. And Marco has more of an allegiance to Chuck Schumer and to the liberals than he does to conservative policy.
I want to thank Rand for another 30 seconds because, number one, what he's pointing to is a bill last week, an amendment he voted for that only 10 people voted for. You know why? Because it's not focused on terrorists. It would have banned anyone from coming here. Someone from Taiwan would not have been able to come here as a tourist. Number two, this program, this metadata program, is actually more strict than what a regular law enforcement agency has now. If a regular law enforcement agency wants your phone records, all they have to do is issue a subpoena. But now the intelligence agency is not able to quickly gather records and look at them to see who these terrorists are calling. And the terrorist that attacked us in San Bernardino was an American citizen, born and raised in this country. And I bet you we wish we would have had access to 5 years of his records so we could see who he was working with before they carried out another attack.
Governor Christie, I'll come to you in a minute.
Since that was mentioned in the question, can I respond?
Go ahead, please.
Marco still misunderstands the immigration issue. What I put forward was an amendment that would have temporarily halted immigration from high-risk terrorist countries, but it would have started it up, but I want them to go through global entry, which is a program where we do background checks. The thing is that every terrorist attack we've had since 9/11 has been legal immigration. Marco wants to expand that. I want more rules, more scrutiny, and to defend the country, you have to defend the border.
Senator, we're going to talk about immigration in a while. But Governor Christie,
don't I get another 30 seconds? He mentioned me again.
You heard Senator Paul, Senator Cruz talk about how important it is to protect Americans' privacy, even in a time of grave danger. Why? What's wrong with that?
Listen, I want to talk to the audience at home for a second. If your eyes are glazing over like mine, this is what it's like to be on the floor of the United States Senate. I mean, endless debates about how many angels on the head of a pin from people who've never had to make a consequential decision in an executive position. The fact is, for 7 years, I had to make these decisions after 9/11. Make a decision about how to proceed forward with an investigation or how to pull back, whether to use certain actionable intelligence or whether not to. And yet they continue to debate about this bill and in the subcommittee and what. Nobody in America cares about that. What they care about is, are we going to have a president who actually knows what they're doing to make these decisions? And for the 7 years afterwards, New Jersey was threatened like no other region in this country. And what we did was we took actions within the Constitution to make sure that law enforcement had all the information they needed. We prosecuted 2 of the biggest terrorism cases in the world and stopped Fort Dix from being attacked by 6 American radicalized Muslims from a mosque in New Jersey because we worked with the Muslim American community to get intelligence, and we used the Patriot Act to get other intelligence to make sure we did those cases. This is the difference between actually having been a federal prosecutor, actually doing something, and just spending your life as one of 100 debating it. Let's talk about how we do this, not about which bill each one of these guys likes more. The American people don't care about that.
Thank you. Dr. Carson, you're in favor of monitoring mosques and schools where there is anti-American sentiment. What do you consider anti-American?
Well, first of all, let me just complain a little bit. This is the first time I've spoken, and several people have had multiple questions, so please try to pay attention to that. Now, as far as monitoring is concerned, what my point is, we need to make sure that any place I don't care whether it's a mosque, a school, a supermarket, you know, a theater. It doesn't matter. If there are a lot of people getting there, engaging in radicalizing activities, then we need to be suspicious of it. We have to get rid of all this PC stuff. And people are worried about somebody's going to say that I'm Islamophobic or what have you. This is craziness because we are at war. That's why I asked Congress, go ahead and declare the war. We need to be on a war footing. We need to understand that our nation is in grave danger. You know, what the Muslim Brotherhood said in the explanatory memorandum that was discovered during the Holy Land Foundation trial is that they will take advantage of our PC attitude to get us. And we have to be better than this. We have to be smarter than they are.
Dr. Carson, who was right in that little debate we just heard between Senator Rubio and Senator Paul?
I think you have to ask them about that. I don't want to get in between them. Let them fight.
Wolf, these...
Hold on one second. We have a lot more to come, and everybody's going to have their full opportunities. Governor Bush.
FBI, the NSA, our intelligence communities, all the resources they need to keep us safe. But the main thing we should be focused on is a strategy to destroy ISIS. And I laid out a plan at the Reagan Library before the tragedy of Paris and before San Bernardino to do just that. It requires leadership. It's not filing an amendment and calling it success. It is developing a strategy, leading the world, funding it to make sure that we have a military that's second to none, and doing the job. And making sure that we destroy ISIS there. That's how you keep America safe.
Ms. Fiorina, as you pointed out, you were a CEO in Silicon Valley on 9/11. Companies there, they say they won't help the FBI now crack encrypted communications from ISIS. Should they be forced to?
You know, listening to this conversation, let me just say, we have a lot of argument about laws, but none of it solves the problem. Let's examine what happened. Why did we miss the Tsarnaev brothers? Why did we miss the San Bernardino couple? It wasn't because we had stopped collecting metadata. It was because I think, as someone who comes from the technology world, we were using the wrong algorithms. This is a place where the private sector could be helpful because the government is woefully behind the technology curve. But secondly, the bureaucratic processes that have been in place since 9/11 are woefully inadequate as well. What do we now know? That DHS vets people by going into databases of known or suspected terrorists. And yet we also know that ISIS is recruiting people who are not in those databases. So of course we're going to miss them. And then we now learn that DHS says, no, we can't check their social media. For heaven's sakes, every parent in America is checking social media, and every employer is as well, but our government can't do it. The bureaucratic procedures are so far behind. Our government has become incompetent, unresponsive, corrupt, and that incompetence, ineptitude, lack of accountability is now dangerous. It is why we need a different kind of leadership in the White House that understands how to get bureaucracies competent again.